They moved before sunrise, slipping through the twisted trees of the Argonne forest, with rifles slung low and mud already creeping up their boots. It was October 2nd, 1918. The fog was thick, the silence uneasy. 554 men pushed forward into enemy lines, unaware they were about to vanish from the world. They didn't know it yet, but they would be called the Lost Battalion. The Great War was in its final, furious act. The Meuse-Argonne offensive, a massive push by the American Expeditionary Forces, had one goal: break the German defenses and bring the war to an end. Orders were clear: advance, press forward, no retreat. Major Charles Whittlesey led the men of the 308th Infantry Regiment, many of them draftees from New York's tenement streets, clerks, dock workers, shopkeepers, boys barely old enough to shave. None of them had seen a forest like this, dense, rotting, crawling with wire and death. As they advanced, Whittlesey believed friendly units were pushing in on either side, but somewhere in the chaos, maps misled, runners were killed, and coordination fell apart. The men of the 77th Division moved too far, too fast. By the time they reached the Charlevoix ravine, they were alone. German forces closed in from the north, east, and west. Machine gun nests on the ridges, snipers in the trees, mortars zeroed in. Their only path back was a narrow choke point, now sealed by enemy fire. The trap had been set, and they were inside it. Day turned to night. Then another and another. They dug in with bayonets and bare hands. There were no trenches, just holes clawed into the hillside. Water ran from the roots. Some men collected it in helmets. Others drank from puddles filled with blood and dirt. Rations ran out. Then the ammunition began to run low. German soldiers crept to the edges of the perimeter, shouting in English, promising food and safety. They offered mercy, surrender. Whittlesey didn't respond. He turned his back and walked away. On the fourth day, things got worse. American artillery, misinformed about their position, began shelling the ravine. Friendly fire exploded across the hillside. Trees splintered, dirt rained down, men screamed. There was no way to call for help, except one. Whittlesey turned to the last working pigeon, a bird named Cher Ami. A message was tied to her leg with shaking fingers. It read, "We are along the road parallel to 276.4. Our own artillery is dropping a barrage directly on us. For heaven's sake, stop it." He released her into the blackened sky. German soldiers spotted her and opened fire. The bird was hit, blinded in one eye, her leg nearly severed. But she flew, 25 miles. She delivered the note. The shelling stopped. Still, the battalion wasn't safe. The dead were everywhere, piled in shell holes, crumpled in trees, wrapped in blood-soaked blankets. The wounded lay silently, afraid their groans would draw fire. No one had slept. No one had eaten in days. Rats crawled through pockets. The stink was unbearable, but they held. Private Abraham Krotoshinsky volunteered to crawl through enemy lines. He slipped through the mud, over the bodies of his friends, dodging machine gun fire, weaving through shattered brush and coils of barbed wire. After hours, he reached a forward American post and delivered their location. On October 8th, 6 days after they were cut off, reinforcements arrived. What they found was devastation. Of the original 554 men, only 194 walked out. The rest were dead, wounded, or missing. Some had been buried where they fell, marked with helmets and rifles jammed into the earth. Others were never found at all. Major Whittlesey was awarded the Medal of Honor, but he rarely spoke of the siege. Years later, overcome with guilt and grief, he boarded a steamship, left no note, and vanished into the Atlantic. Cher Ami, the pigeon that saved them, was awarded the Croix de Guerre and stuffed for display in the Smithsonian. She flew her last mission with one eye, one leg, and a shredded wing. The survivors of the lost battalion returned to lives that didn't understand what they'd endured. Most never spoke of the forest again. But the ravine remembers, and in history's long shadow, their stand remains. They didn't win a battle. They didn't break the enemy. They simply endured, longer than they were supposed to. And in war, sometimes that's all that matters. Thank you for listening to Last Post History. Subscribe for more true stories from the world at war.